So today's class is going to be on situational awareness with a small portion on attack recognition. So for the intro, let's talk about being aware of what's taking place around you has always been important. To know the action of others by your own actions when moving and how they affect you or become a danger to you. And this means when you're moving around people, changing lanes in traffic, crossing the street, etc. The best way to stay safe is to avoid hostile or other dangerous situations whenever possible. The best way to do this is recognizing these actions taking place around you before they fully develop into the threat, and then you have to act to protect yourself. Once you are reacting and responding, you have lost your initiative and you'll need to work your way back to being safe. So, what is situational awareness? There are lots of people who have definitions for it, most based upon how they perceive it. Now, every segment of security has a definition, even cyber. But this is for this class, and this time we will define situational awareness as knowing what is going on around you and how it will affect you. It pertains to when you are walking, driving, or in a static location. You need to know what's going on around you. You need to be aware. The purpose of this lesson is to help you recognize signs and actions that may be displayed prior to any type of hostile action, so that you are able to anticipate this action and take the appropriate measures to evade or counter any threat. So we do this by observing. You need to be observant. I know people think they understand the word, but they really do not. To be observant means you are paying attention to what is taking place in the environment around you. You are seeing, you are hearing, you are smelling. You are trying to distinguish between what is normal and what is not normal for this place and time. This is about your perception of what is taking place around you. What is the normal pedestrian traffic flow and speed? What is the normal vehicle movements? Are the vendors normally there present, or is it someone new? People paying too much attention to you or your area of movement. What is new? What is old? And is the old different in any way that should make it stand out? You need to observe these things and others that we will talk about later. To be observant will mean putting the phone down and the music out of your ears, and nothing should be in your hands. You should have your head up and you should be scanning. You don't want to be distracted. Interpretation, you need to be able to know what it is you're seeing. You are being observant, paying attention to your environment, and you are seeing everything. So now you have to interpret what you're seeing to determine if any risks exist. This is where the decision-making process will start about your actions, if any, to mitigate perceived threats. While you are analyzing your observations or what you are seeing, you need to remember that a threat could be trying to distract you or deceive you into thinking there is no issue or threat present. You need to make a decision on what you can do and will do. Sometimes it can be as simple as crossing the street or getting on a bus you had not planned on taking. You will always have a pre-planned response, what if, everything, for routes you normally take, and even new ones when you are traveling away from home. So, the interpretation for what you see is made up of four elements. You need to analyze. You must decide what it is you see. Remember, the enemy may be trying to deceive you. All right. Quick appreciation, or once you have decided what it is you see, you got to decide how it will affect you. You need to make a rapid decision, decide on a course of action and implement it. Remember, it's better to do something and get it wrong than to do nothing and die. And recognize danger signs. There are several different types of danger signs that will assist you in understanding and interpreting what it is you see. These will be covered shortly. So, three elements of observation: attention, perception, and conclusion. Attention. When working or traveling, you are always alert. Your levels of alertness vary depending on the environment you are moving through. When you are moving, you scan the area of movement. It is important that you actually see what you are looking at and when scanning instead of just looking in that direction. Something is always trying to draw your attention and eyes in several different ways. This happens involuntarily, will happen when there is a sudden movement, a loud noise, loud colors, bright light, flash of light, etc. These types of things usually draw our eyes to the object that is creating this phenomenon. Sometimes the threat uses these types of actions or sounds to create distractions to draw our eyes away from the true incident. Do not let your involuntary actions control your attention. Voluntary, this is what you do when you are scanning your area of movement. Voluntarily looking into specific areas or at certain objects. Your scanning ability is something that improves the more you do it. When scanning, you should break your area down into three areas of observation: the foreground, the middle distance away, and far distance. You need to sweep your eyes slowly back and forth in each of these zones, concentrating on anything that can be made out. You do not want to focus too long on any one object. Mark it and continue to scan and come back to it. Habitual. This is a phenomenon that happens when you get used to seeing something that when it changes, you can't quite figure out what is wrong or what has changed, but you know something's different. Your brain can also play other tricks on you when you have something you are used to seeing and it's changed slightly and you don't know why. Perception is your understanding of what you see. This in part is influenced by what you're doing, your experience, and the environment you're in. People rarely perceive things the same way, since a large part of your perception is based upon your personal experience or their personal experience. Interpretation. You need to interpret what you are observing for possible threat actions. And you do this first by deciding exactly what it is you see, analyze, and then remembering that the threat, whether hostile or criminal, might be trying to deceive you into seeing something harmless or non-threatening. Once you decide what it is you see, you have to figure out how it's going to affect you and what you plan on doing. Then you must quickly decide on what course of action to take. Then you do it. This is why we plan, rehearse, and what if scenarios constantly. A quick decision might not always be the best decision possible, but hesitating or making no decision can get you killed or captured, kidnapped. And once you believe you have a grasp of what's going on and understand what you see, you need to form a conclusion and decide what course of action will best suit your needs of stopping the perceived threat if any action is necessary. So now we're going to talk about danger signs, how to recognize them. So there's going to be obvious signs. These are obvious threats to you: people holding weapons, vehicles trying to block you, people pointing and moving towards you, a riot taking place, a mob moving towards you, etc. So then you have the situational signs. This will be pieces of puzzles that you will have to interpret. There will be things that alone do not seem a threat, but added up they can constitute one, such as people walking the wrong way towards you, or a vehicle pacing you from behind instead of moving with traffic. You just have to know what's going on. And then there's going to be behavioral signs. These are the signs you can read in the body language of any potential threat actor that will convey their intent. Body language and any activities they're doing to mask their actions. Having a cigarette but not smoking. Having a book in their hand but not reading, etc. Okay? So behavioral signs, body language. Sudden movement such as reaching into a jacket or backpack for no apparent reason, putting a glass down when it was just picked up, putting out or throwing down a cigarette that hasn't been smoked, dropping a newspaper, clenching of the fists. Okay, their face. A fixed stare on you, clenching thin lips, clenched teeth, face and neck turning red. These are all signs of preparing to action. Acting like they were preparing for something, standing up, reaching for things, acting out of character with what they were doing before. These are all things that will stand out and will be visible to you so you can interpret and act on them. So, other behavioral signs. There are some things that a person can't control when they are afraid or getting ready to do something outside their comfort zone. These physiological signs are part of the fight or flight system. They can't control them, it's going to happen. So, skin color, pallor. A frightened individual's blood will pool to the vital organs and to the major muscles used to fight. This is your arms and legs. As a result, blood is taken away from the outer blood vessels, leading to a paling of the skin. Therefore, any individual with a pale complexion is more likely to be an imminent threat than one who is red-faced. Heavy breathing, one of the most obvious and difficult signs to conceal because it's caused by the body's carrying out its own version of warm-up. It's oxygenating the blood in preparation for action. So a dry mouth. A decrease in saliva will leave the attacker with a dry mouth, causing him to make small movements with his tongue and lips, to swallow more, to sip if he has a drink, things like that. Tense muscles. Due to the decrease in blood to the limbs, this will make small shifty movements or pumping like your hands together. Look for hands tightly clasped or legs firmly crossed, etc. So that's behavioral signs. Now let's talk about masking. Masking is using any action to cover the activities for being at that place at that time. Remember, they are trying to blend in and they get nervous too. They get bored. They get worried whether they are not blending in. They don't want to get caught or observed, or are they nervous about what they're doing? They might not be comfortable with it. What if you do not show up along your route? What if there's a screw up? What if they don't recognize you? There's all these things. Any potential attacker will attempt to blend in the surroundings. However, it is easy for paranoia to set in and for attackers to overcompensate. This may be linked to the attacker's perception of time being slowed, and he is trying to fill the time with activity, i.e., he's fidgeting. Simple repetitive actions such as whining or looking at a watch, being on your cell phone or laptop but always looking up, playing with a ring, putting a cell phone away and bringing it back out, straightening a tie, picking up a newspaper and putting it down, ordering a drink and not drinking it, or same with food, ordering food and not touching it. All of these are examples of masking activities. A good way to identify this behavior is having a static observation person or post, or for you, observing a crowd or area and determining when something's going to happen. As time progresses, any potential attacker will become more agitated and signals will become more obvious. As stated before, they're not sure when you're going to show up or what you're going to do. More examples of masking activity. Smoking. This is usually an excuse for standing outside. Or vaping. Pretending to read newspapers or books. But you never see them flip a page or change. Ordering food but not eating. Ordering drinks but not drinking. Sitting with someone but not talking to them or engaging. Always looking away. Their back to them, which is unusual. cell phone use or laptop, picking up the cell phone or getting it out and putting it down again without looking. At a bus stop or a taxi stand and never getting on the bus or taking a taxi. Those are all things, and there's many others I'm sure you could think of about people doing something to try to blend into their surroundings. All right. Now we're going to talk about correlating activities. These are actions that appear to key off what you are doing. People following you, turning corners, stand up when you go by, slow down or speed up when walking. People will stand up without eating or drinking or stop what they are doing to watch. They will pick up a phone and a message or call when you pass by. These things are important, and believe it or not, they're actually really easy to observe, whether you're in a vehicle walking as a pedestrian. All right. Anybody that looks like as you go by and they stop what they're doing and watch you and then pick up a phone, or whether in a vehicle or a car, or you slow down to look in a window and people behind you slow down too for no apparent reason because they're not looking in the window. You know, things that key off what you're doing is what you're looking for. Now, part of the attack process and the situational awareness for you is going to be this. To go from a non-threat to a threat, they're going to have to transition. It's not suddenly going to appear, and this is probably one of the most important things to be able to observe. And basically, it's when a person who is a threat to you or considering taking an action against you has to transition from what their cover of blending in, non-threat to one of action or attack. Even people who are conducting a crime of opportunity with you have to transition from nonviolent to violent or non-threat to threat. This transition simply means they are preparing to carry out an act not in line with their cover. This can mean standing up and leaving their props, bags, drinks, umbrellas behind as they move towards you, putting out a cigarette as you approach, moving a vehicle into position. It can also mean reaching into a coat or pocket and moving towards you against the crowd, pushing people, honking horns to get cars to move, etc. 99% of this transition will involve the hands of the person and some type of movement towards you to be in your path. Watch the hands. Be aware. As you're moving and observing your surroundings and keeping your eyes up and knowing what's going on around, you have to keep making a moving threat assessment. So when you're moving, you need to keep doing these threat assessments of the area you're approaching. Always be aware of the environment you're going to move into. Environments can change block to block in some cities, whether on foot or in vehicle. Just be aware of what's going on around you. Do not get distracted. Do not get complacent. Do not be on your phone. Be aware of your surroundings. There are always patterns to movement, whether in a vehicle or on foot. And when these patterns are broken, it will cause things to stand out. Once again, people moving against the current pattern, people moving too slow for the pattern of movement, people moving too fast for the pattern of movement. It's things that are observable to you, and it's just something you need to keep your eyes open for. So mental bias and shortcuts. So in one of the other classes, we talked quite a bit about map of the world. So you already have a brain that filters everything out based upon your experience. So, and this creates mental bias and shortcuts for us because we always want to get to the end result. The biggest obstacle to our ability to observe is our own mental bias based upon our map of the world. As you move through the environment observing, you are assessing the behavior of people based upon your mental bias and the map of that world for that environment and that time. Now, this is not a bad thing. Your map of the world is how you learn to filter out those items in your environment that do not interest you, have not been a historical threat to you, and other times you consider a distraction. This is how we function in the world without becoming mentally overloaded with all the input we receive. So you need to expand and reset your map of the world to try to limit mental bias, especially when it concerns what is normal and what is not, and what is a threat and what is not. Instead of ignoring the street vendor you always pass by, reevaluate. Are the same people working there? Is it the same product? Is it set up the same way? Are they conducting business, etc.? Taking cash and giving change. Remember, you have no control over the environment you move through, so how safe can it really be? Be aware, observe, see what is actually happening. Situational awareness, again, observe and see your surroundings. Understand what is a threat to you and evaluate the environment. Observe the people around you and assess their behavior. Does it fit into that environment? If you feel the need to remove yourself from the path of the potential threat, this can be as simple as stepping into a business or getting onto a bus. So, attack recognition. This is going to play a part in this because this is what you're going to observe people doing. Usually this is going to be at primary attack points, and we talked about how to know when this place is. So when you're approaching an attack point or what you consider to be a choke point, either as a vehicle or a pedestrian, and these are areas that you have to pass through to conduct your business or whatever you're doing, you have no choice. Be especially alert. Be aware of your options, where you can go, what you can do, what businesses are available, law enforcement, etc. Keep your distance as much as possible from suspicious activity and watch for nonverbal communications. People who are across the street and appear to be signaling off each other, people walking together and looking over their shoulder at you, people standing on a corner or leaning against a building, etc. What you need to do is look for the transition. The attack will have to transform from a non-threat to a threat. Again, you need to watch the hands. So the attack sites that they will be looking for. They will be looking for a site will give them predictability of you, a target. The ability to blend in for them, because remember, they don't want to be observed and routed out, and they have to have a way to get out of the area, either by themselves or with you if that's their intent. But the biggest thing is predictability. All the routes you take, a lot of times you have no choice. There's certain areas you have to pass through, whether it's using a parking garage and walking across the street to the bank, whether it's driving, there's always a one roundabout you have to go through, or one area where you have no choice. There's only one way in and one way out. Those are the most likely areas that you will be attacked, which is why you have to increase your situational awareness. Analysis of attack data shows that over 85% of attacks have happened where the person, the victim, is most predictable. And that is not going to change. Where you are predictable makes you an easy target. Time and place predictability is how you become a victim. So finally, where observation is concerned, chance favors the prepared mind. Louis Pasteur said that, and it's true today. In summary, it is evident that your role of trying to protect yourself is you're going to have to anticipate and then try to prevent hostile action. Rather than try to rely on a quick reaction time at the moment of attack, what you need to do is reduce the opportunity of the attack in such a manner by knowing what's going on around you, detect it in advance, and move on in a way that will make them determine that you're too high of a threat or too hard of a target to attack. Observation, accurate interpretation, and experience is more relevant than your being able to do hand to hand or have a gun. You have to be able to predict what's going to happen and remove yourself from the threat area. All right. Are there any questions? If so, email me. Like I said, this was just a short, down and dirty class on this. If you have questions, I have more in-depth classes that take longer. All right. That's situational awareness and attack recognition. Thank you.